Right now, all eyes are on Islamabad. Why? Because some incredibly high-stakes peace talks are going down between the United States and Iran. Today, we're going to break down how this summit, which is being brokered by Pakistan, could literally reshape global politics. All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the summit itself. Then, we'll get into the players, their demands, and their red lines. After that, we've got to talk about the Lebanon connection. Then we'll see how the world's responding. And finally, what this all means for Pakistan's new role on the world stage. So, let's set the scene. Islamabad. It's become this kind of unlikely stage for these absolutely critical negotiations. You've got this really fragile ceasefire between the US and Iran, and right into that gap, Pakistan has stepped up, trying to hammer out a real, lasting peace deal. And make no mistake, the tone here is one of absolute determination. You've got the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif personally leading this thing, and he's got the backing of the country's powerful army chief, so he has really put his own reputation on the line for a good outcome here. Now, this is what's really fascinating. Just look at the international support. We're talking China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt, the whole European Union. I mean, when you have all these major powers back in the talks, it just shows you how incredibly high the stakes are for everyone. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. Who's actually sitting at the table and what's on their shopping list? We're going to break down the key players, their politics, and most importantly, their red lines, the things they will not budge on. And neither side is messing around. They've sent their heavy hitters. For the US, you've got Vice President J.D. Vance and Jared Kushner. And on the Iranian side, their delegation is being led by Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and the Speaker, Bakr Kalibaf. So yeah, these are serious players. And coming from the American side, there's this, well, kind of surprising optimism. President Trump actually said Iranian leaders are very reasonable people. I mean, that suggests he thinks a deal isn't just possible, it's likely. And that's a huge shift in tone, for sure. Iran, on the other hand, well, they're sending a much more complicated signal. They're saying they don't want a war, but their supreme leader has been crystal clear. They will not back down from what they see as their fundamental rights. It's like they've drawn a very firm red line in the sand. So the whole negotiation really boils down to this set of 10 proposals from Iran. Now, we don't know all the details. They're being kept pretty quiet. But we do know the absolute centerpiece, the one make-or-break issue. It's the complete lifting of those crippling economic sanctions. But look, these talks aren't happening in some sterile bubble. No way. They're directly and honestly dangerously linked to what's going on next door in Lebanon. The violence there is escalating, and it could derail this entire process. It's a huge pressure point for both sides. And this really drives home the human cost of all this. We're talking over 300 people killed in recent Israeli attacks, including a senior Hezbollah commander. Now, Iran is calling this a blatant violation of the ceasefire and basically accusing Israel of trying to sabotage the whole peace process. So as you can imagine, this violence has set off alarm bells everywhere. The international community is piling on the pressure. You've got the EU demanding Lebanon be included in the ceasefire. Turkey is out there publicly warning against sabotage. And then you have groups like Amnesty International calling for a stop to arms supplies to Israel. And you can just feel how serious this is by the frantic diplomacy going on behind the scenes. I mean, the phone lines are absolutely buzzing. It really feels like all roads lead to Islamabad right now. And yeah, world leaders are definitely taking notice. For example, you have the French President Emmanuel Macron picking up the phone and calling Prime Minister Sharif directly just to praise Pakistan's crucial role in cooling things down. And it's not just Europe. Key players in the Gulf, who, let's be honest, have a massive stake in keeping the region stable, they're also jumping in. The leaders of Qatar and Bahrain have both called to throw their weight behind the talks and express their support. Meanwhile, Europe is getting really involved. The British PM is talking with the US about keeping those critical shipping lanes open. That's a big deal. And at the same time, the EU's foreign policy chief is pushing, and pushing hard, for a ceasefire that covers the entire region, not just one spot. So let's bring it back to the host nation. What does all this mean for Pakistan? Well, this whole summit is being framed as a massive diplomatic win for them. It's basically taken Pakistan from the sidelines and pushed it right into the center of the world stage. And the praise is coming from all over. I mean, listen to this list of countries: China, Australia, Canada, Saudi Arabia, New Zealand, Japan, Germany, Italy, Spain. They've all publicly praised Pakistan's role here for helping to avoid what could have been a truly devastating conflict. And interestingly, the source points to a BBC report that, well, it draws a really sharp contrast. It paints Pakistan as being at the very center of the solution. But at the same time, it describes its regional rival, India, as being kind of isolated and, frankly, ineffective during this whole crisis. And apparently, that's a narrative that even some analysts in India are starting to agree with. So all of this leaves us with one final massive question. What if this actually works? If these talks succeed and the sanctions on Iran are lifted, that could completely reshape the entire region. We could be looking at a whole new era of trade and stability. And for countries like Pakistan, right at the center of it all, the stakes just couldn't be any higher.